You're listening to Whoa! Potluck.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Books and Boba, a book club and podcast about books by Asian and Asian American authors. My name is Marvin Yue.
And I'm Rira Yu.
And it is the middle of November, so we're going to come at you with one of our mid-month news episodes. And, oh boy, there's a lot of news.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a light news month, and I was like, oh, okay, like it's going to be a short episode. And then I think last week it was just like a whole info dump of news, and I'm like...
Not just news, but also like controversies and bad takes and just like a lot of stuff, a lot of conversation happening in the Asian American book world.
Yeah.
And specifically Asian American book Twitter.
I had to take a break because it was just a lot of garbage fire on Twitter. And I was like, oh God, I can't. Like it's like every month there is at least one controversy, and I'm like, I can't.
But on the other hand, that's good too, because I feel like there's always been this much shit happening. We just haven't heard about it because everyone keeps quiet. You know.
Yeah. People have become way more vocal and definitely more support because there's organizations like We Need Diverse Books and publishing. Like the publishing industry has gotten a little bit more diverse. Not enough to a point where I see like a significant difference, but it has gotten marginally better.
I mean, it's gotten to a point where remember last episode where we had, white writers complaining about how diversity makes it so hard for them to write books now. Anyways.
I don't think I would be so exasperated if it wasn't the same argument every other week. Like literally it's every other week.
That's
I
true.
See like a stream of tweets that
it does feel like there's just outrage fatigue, not only in book world and media world, but also in politics world and even food world.
Everything is just garbage fire. Like it's garbage fire.
I mean, it all comes from the fact that like we're no longer letting people get away with bullshit. That's the bottom line. It's like no more bullshit. We demand more than bullshit.
2017,
the end of bullshit. 2018, the start of new shit.
Oh, God. Please let it be the rise of new shit. I don't think I can take another year of just like emotional trauma.
Yeah. It's just me and Rira this week, so we're going to go through our new releases and book news. But before we get to that, quick reminder that the November Books and Boba Book Club pick is Empress of a Thousand Skies by Rhoda Beleza.
Yeah, and if you want to get ahead of your holiday reading, our December book is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. So if you are at a Barnes & Noble or your local bookstore, buy both of them.
I picked up both of those actually from the local Romans.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Also because they were the only place in like the entire San Gabriel Valley that carried the Entertainment Weekly with the Crazy Rich Asians cover story.
Oh my God. It was such a nice cover. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but yes, I was very happy.
It was cool to see the photo shoot, but also the first scenes from the movie and just like how it's gonna look, and it's gonna be awesome. As always, you can help us discuss our monthly books and any Asian or Asian American book news on our Goodreads forums. You can find us on goodreads.com under the group Books and Boba. If you do join us, please introduce yourself in our introductions thread, and we'd love to know who you are and what you're reading. And it's been getting more and more active in the last few months, which is great. And so thank you to all our book club members for reading with us. And with that, let's get to the new releases of the month of November. I guess this is everything starting from books we missed from last week to books upcoming.
Yeah. There will always be books I miss. And of course, this is not like a full list of books by Asian American authors that are coming out in November.
If there's anything that we didn't cover, please just let us know on the forums. But first up, it's Rosemarked by Olivia Blackburn, published by Disney Hyperion, released on November 7th. The book is about when Ziva, a Dara healer, contracts the Rose Plague from an Amperin battalion occupying her village. She knows that she's destined to live her last days in isolation, cut off from her people and unable to practice her art. Meanwhile, Denius, a Shidadi warrior who has survived the plague and is forever immune, seeks revenge after being tortured by Amperin soldiers. The two are sent on a high-stake mission to spy on the Amperin capital, and amidst the constant fear of discovery, Ziva and Denius grapple with a mutual attraction that could break both of their carefully guarded hearts.
I've heard so many good things about this book, and it doesn't hurt that like both of the protagonists they are disfigured from like the plague that that they survive, and you don't really see a lot of characters and protagonists nonetheless like who are disfigured and are not inspirational stories. So this is actually like really nice, and it sounds like something that I would read, but I have so many books on my to be read pile.
Just add it to the bottom.
I just my hold on The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas Scott just went through, and I'm like, man, I wonder when I'm going to read this, because I have like 5 other library books that are due in the next 5 days. And anyway, enough about my TBR pile.
Book problems.
Book problems.
Book life problems.
Next on our list is Quiet Girl in a Noisy World, An Introvert's Story by Debbie Tung. It's published by Andrew McMeel Publishing, and it released on November 7th. This collection of short comics illuminates author Debbie Tung's experience as an introvert in an extrovert's world, presented in a loose narrative style that can be read front to back or dipped into at one's leisure. The book spans 3 years of Debbie's life, from the end of college to present day. In these early years of adulthood, Debbie slowly but finally discovers there is a name for her lifelong need to be alone. She's an introvert.
Ooh.
So I've seen a couple of comics floating around Tumblr and Pinterest, and they are so relatable. I am like an extreme introvert. Doing this podcast is like the most amount of social interaction I get. Like,
I mean, to be fair,
every couple weeks.
You're interacting with me and a microphone.
Microphones are scary. But yeah, there was like this one comic where like it I think the title of it was How I Party. And the author Debbie Tung, like she illustrated herself like under a blanket at home, and she's like reading a pile of books, and she's like, oh man, that happened? Wow, this is the craziest night ever. And I'm like, yep, story of my life. That's pretty much what I do on a Friday night usually. I'm making myself sound really sad, but I'm actually pretty happy with my introverted life.
I mean, I've seen you out in social events too, though, and like you're not like totally ineffectual.
It takes me like a month to recharge. It takes a lot of guts for me to go to social events, because I have a lot of anxiety and I take medication for it, and it's a lot of work. So I try to not be as social as possible, but sometimes I can't avoid it. So,
you know what? This is your voice is reaching hundreds of people over the internet.
I'll be surprised if there's like 10 people listening to this.
No, we have hundreds. Maybe
wow.
more. It could be more if you guys help us share. Give us a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find podcasts. And also share us with your friends who might be interested in reading books by Asian Americans and listening to people talk about them. We got some really nice messages recently about people who have been following us, and yeah, it's good to know you guys are out there listening.
It's good to know that this like labor of love is appreciated.
Yeah, Reba puts in a lot of work compiling these lists. Like I helped her 1 month and I almost like died. So
you were like, oh my god, there's a lot, and I'm like, yeah, Marvin, there's a lot.
Next up, we have Witchwood by Tahere Mafi. Reba included pronunciations for this one, so thank you for that, for helping me not sound like an idiot. Published by Dutton Books for Young Readers, released on November 14th, which is this week. Since her mother's death and father's departure, Laylee has become the sole remaining mortuor in the village of Witchwood, destined to spend her days washing the bodies of the dead and prepping their souls for the afterlife. A lot of afterlife stuff recently in this book club.
I dig it.
It's become easy to forget and easier still to ignore the way her hands are stiffening and turning silver, just like her hair and her own ever-increasing loneliness and fear. But soon a pair of familiar strangers appears, and Laylee's world is turned upside down as she rediscovers color, magic, and the healing power of friendship.
So I saw the author of Witchwood at Marie Lou's event when she was promoting Warcross at Romans, and Witchwood sounded like a really cool book, and I was so poor and broke, and I was like, I can't buy this book. I'll have to wait. I'll have to wait until it comes to my library, because unfortunately I can't buy every book that I want to read.
One day I will have... One day when Audible sponsors this podcast and gives us money, or any other book-related companies out there.
Living the dream. So the last book on our list is I Wore My Blackest Hair by Carlina Duan, and is published by Little A and released on November 14th. In her debut collection of poetry, Fulbright Grant recipient Carlina Duan explores what it means to be a bold woman, a Chinese American, and what it means to be a woman in between identities, places, languages, and desires. Her poems wrestle and celebrate ancestry and history, racial consciousness, and the growing pains of adulthood. And that's I Wore My Blackest Hair by Carlina Duan.
Nice. Yeah, I still haven't busted open a poetry collection book yet, but...
I do want to read a poetry book for Books and Boba, but I am definitely... Whenever I was in English class and we had to analyze poems, I was so bad at it that I'm a little bit scared to do that.
It's kind of like it'll just be a more abstract conversation.
Maybe we'll bring in a third person who's actually a little bit more equipped to talk about it.
We might have to lean on our Books and Boba members on the forums for help there. And those are the new releases of November. If there's any more that come out before the end of the month, we'll catch up on them in our end of the month discussion episode. But thanks to Rita for
thanks to Twitter.
Them.
Thanks to everyone who posts news on social media.
And those of you who want to kind of help us out with compiling news stories. We have a news desk thread in our Goodreads forums. If there's anything that comes to mind or did you see, go ahead and post there, and we'll pick it up on the podcast.
And you can always slide into our DMs on Twitter.
Yeah, slide.
Okay, so we are going to move on to book news, book deals. I'm going to start because there's a piece of news that didn't make it onto our dossier.
Okay, is this breaking news?
It just happened last night.
We got breaking news.
So Imagine Entertainment has bought the film rights for Renee Audier's YA fantasy novel, The Wrath and the Dawn. And it's pretty much, the book is pretty much a YA fantasy take on 1001 Nights. Is that what it's called? No.
1001 Arabian Nights.
Yeah, Arabian
1001
Nights.
Arabian Nights.
Yeah, 1001 Arabian Nights. So, that sounds really interesting. It's an option, so it's not a guarantee that it will see the light of day, but they are planning to develop it. Yeah, hopefully, with a lot of luck, it will pass development hell.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of potential there, especially modernizing. People love modernizing folktales, right?
Yeah,
it's all about.
And Renee Audier, I'm not sure if I'm saying her name correctly. I'm so sorry, but she's also the author of Flame in the Mist.
Yeah,
and that was like a Japanese Mulan retelling, and that also did really well. Yeah,
she's I think she's working on the sequel right now.
Yeah.
So awesome! Congrats to Renee Audier, and looking forward to where that. I love hearing all these news of all these books being picked up for option. I really hope. Crazy Rich Asians leading the way, right?
Yeah. Speaking of Crazy Rich Asians, that's next on our list.
Yeah. Warner Brothers announced that Crazy Rich Asians is slated for an August 17th release, August 17th, 2018, 8/17/18. I kind of wish it would 8/18/8. 8/18/18, but that would be a Saturday, I guess. So that doesn't really work for Hollywood. But a most auspicious date, and also There's a date. It's coming out.
I was actually on the day when they announced the release date for this movie. I was actually very frustrated because I was like, I want to read Crazy Rich Asians this year. I know they are coming out with this movie this coming year. So when are we going to read this for book club?
We don't have to read it the month it comes out.
No, I want to read it when it comes out. That way, it's like we get more hits. Marketing strategy.
We right on we totally piggyback on that hashtag for sure.
There's going to be so many articles on online with like interviews with Constance Wu and the cast of Crazy Rich Asians. I'm going to jump on that.
This is how you know Reba used to work in social media and online editing.
But yeah, we talked about the Entertainment Weekly cover with Henry Golding and Constance Wu. Oh my God. It is like so luxurious.
It like just the fact that like you have like basically just Asian faces everywhere in all these stills.
Yeah.
And you know that it's in not an Asian American story, although it is. It's like an Asian American fish out of water story, right? I mean, I'm very excited for people to see it. I'm very excited for everyone else to see it too, to see what's possible. You know, like you can't say that Asians can't headline a movie.
Yeah, and like Asian men can't be like romantic leads because I think Henry Golding looks fine. So great casting there.
You actually called the Gemma Chan casting for Astrid, the stylish cousin.
I saw her on Humans, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. I have a total girl crush on her.
But yeah, I mean, John M. Chu is putting like. Basically, I know for a fact that they're screen testing the crap out of this movie. Like Warner Brothers is putting a lot of money behind making sure this movie is a hit.
Yeah,
you know.
Actually, I just remembered what I was gonna say about the movie. So there was I don't know if it was Entertainment Weekly or if it was Bustle, but someone interviewed Kevin Kwan, the author.
I think
that
was in the Entertainment Weekly story, and there was a tweet. Right? Are you talking about the tweet?
Maybe. I think it might be tied into it. But Kevin Kwan is an executive producer in this movie,
and he's the author of the original.
And he's
trilogy.
He's the author. Yeah. But props to him for putting a producer leg into it. But he said that when he was shopping the book around for a movie, there was a producer that said,
yeah, they wanted to make the main character white.
Yeah, they're like, oh, what if we made Rachel white? It would be so great and broaden our audiences. And Kevin Kwan just looked at the producer and was just like, no. And I think it was later on, he went to a Texas book club meeting, and it was pretty much all white middle-aged women who had read the book and loved it. And he told them the story about his meeting with the kind of racist producer, but
not kind of. Well, you mean systematically racist producer. Might not be his fault, but it definitely is working within the trappings of institutional racism.
So he told these white women what happened, and they all said, no, they can't cast Rachel Chu as a white person. We're so tired of seeing the same white women actors in leading roles. And I thought that was really funny.
I mean, from what I understand from the story, her being Asian American is an integral part of the story and her character. It just wouldn't be the same if she was a white lady. I remember this because Entertainment Weekly, the official account, the verified account, posted this snippet saying, "Believe it or not, producers wanted to make Rachel Chu white." And then I just remember our community kind of just jumped in and said, no, we believe it.
Yeah, I mean, after Ghost in the Shell and Iron Fist and, oh God, so many other things that happened this past year. Yeah.
Yeah. And especially this came really close to, I don't know if you have this on the list, but the Leonard Chang debacle controversy.
Yeah.
We can skip down to the list.
Wow, we're being a rebel. We're just skipping around.
Well, it's what we call in the podcast biz a segue.
Yeah, sure.
And it's a very
Marvin, you're a pro,
segue.
so.
But and now we're calling it out, so we're definitely pro podcasters now. So there was a article on what was the? It was like a publishing site, right?
Yeah, it was like a publishing site. Leonard Chang, who is an author, who's a Korean American author
And screenwriter too.
and screenwriter too. I think he's like writing for FX's Snowfall. But he has kind of like this column on a publishing site.
He published it back in May, so this is like someone picking it up, but it is timely.
Yeah.
Basically sharing excerpts from 2 rejection letters he received from about his latest novel, The Lockpicker. Both rejection letters from what he left them anonymous because he's professional and courteous, but
also the editors are dead. So they passed on,
but they're supposedly like legendary editors in the industry. And Reba, why don't you read to us what the legendary editor had to say?
Well, there were 2, but I'll pick the one that like really like stood out to me. And the excerpt from the rejection letter goes, "The characters, especially the main character, just do not seem Asian enough. They act like everyone else. They don't eat Korean food. They don't speak Korean. And you have to think about ways to make these characters more ethnic, more different. We get too much of the minutiae. Sorry. We get too much of the minutiae of the characters' lives and none of the details that separate Koreans and Korean Americans from the rest of us. For example, in the scene when she looks into the mirror, you don't show how she sees her slanted eyes or how she thinks of her Asianness. You guys, every time I wake up in the morning, I just look at my slanted eyes and just ponder about my Asianness as I put on my geisha makeup and then I like make bibimbap in the morning because that is my breakfast food. And then with the chopsticks that I just used to demolish that bibimbap, I put it into my hair. And then I go out into the streets passing out kimchi because that's what Asians do, right?
Sometimes when I look in the mirror and contemplate my Asianness, I pull my eyelids back a little more just to add
feel
some
more
extra
Asian?
Asianness in my life, And I go out with my rice patty hat. And my braided hair, and I kung fu across the sky.
Everybody loves kung fu fighting, right? I mean, like, for real, though, like, when I look in the mirror, like, the only times I actually pay attention to my eyes is just, like, how great my eyeliner looks. But that's about it. Like,
well, it used to be to put on my contacts, but now that I lasered my eyes, it's, I don't really look at my eyes anymore. But the response from Asian Twitter was very, very just full of shade. Like, Will Choi had a great one. He was like, things I do in the morning. So like you said, wake up, eat breakfast, contemplate Asianness.
And the thing is, like, Leonard Chang, like, he has written a whole bunch of novels. I think he has like 9 novels under his belt. But a lot of his protagonists are Korean Americans, usually second generations. And like his protagonists usually have assimilated into American culture to a point where like they don't really have much of a strong tie to their parents' country.
Yeah.
Which is normal because like when you're second generation Korean American, you don't ponder about like.
And like you wake up and you eat oatmeal. Sometimes you do maybe add a little kimchi to it to give it flavor, but it's not like all you do, right?
I think over the years, I've seen a lot of books written by white authors that are set in Asia or they have like an Asian American protagonist, but there are just like things that they don't understand and details that they don't really nail down.
Yeah.
And a lot of these books, they like kind of capitalize on the exoticism of Asia, and like that's like I feel like that's just like that's not fair because you're making Asian people sound like aliens and not human beings.
And the worst part is like it requires like the exposition that requires is like not natural sometimes, right?
And it's like pressuring authors of color to like only write about like the foreignness of their culture, and like honestly, there's some things about American culture that are just weird. So I don't understand like this whole like fascination with like quote unquote Orientalism, the far East, the mystic East. Like it's so
and I think
dumb.
that's something that, especially in Asian American media, has been improving, right? It's like in Asian American film, you're getting less and less like films that are about this is how we're different, and more like this is how we're American. You know, it's a slight difference.
I mean, like look at movies like Blade Runner, where they use like Asian cities as backdrops, but there's no Asian people. And that's kind of what I feel like happens often in sci-fi books.
Yeah.
And like,
which sucks because the first Blade Runner had Asian characters. Like James Hong was the eye guy. And he had speaking parts. Anyways,
we can go on forever on this topic. We're just exhausted.
About the restaurant in South Africa.
Yes, I heard.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard. I'm just so fatigued.
Can't stop fighting. That's what they want.
Okay, well, let's move on to book deals.
Yeah, more book news. Let's happy news for book people.
Okay, so Candlewick Press acquired Yoko Tanaka's Dandelion's Dreams, a wordless picture book that explores the unexpected aspiration of a dandelion to be a real lion. Publication is planned for fall 2019.
Cool, congrats.
And
2 of Maggie Tokuda Hall's books were also bought by Candlewick. The first is a picture book based on the true story of the author's grandparents who met and fell in love on prison in Minidoka internment camp. The second book is a debut YA fantasy entitled The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea, a story of magic mayhem set aboard a pirate ship. The latter book is tentatively slated for 2019.
I think it's really great that there's a picture book about like Japanese internment, things that aren't really taught in school nowadays. There's a lot. There's like a subgenre of picture books that takes place in Japanese internment camps.
Something crazy that I learned was that they don't teach internment in Hawaii.
What?
Because it didn't happen there. So it's not part of like the curriculum.
But there are so many Japanese people in Hawaii.
Yeah, but they were not the ones that got interned. It's the people on the coast, the West Coast.
Well, I can't criticize because I wasn't taught it. We're gonna move on. Next up is Imprint bought Tiny Pretty Things author Sona Charapatra. I'm so sorry if I butchered this. Prognosis, Love, and Death. It's pitched as the Mindy Project meets Grey's Anatomy, and it's a YA contemporary novel that follows a 16-year-old girl genius, the youngest MD in America, as she navigates an oncology internship. Her big Indian family, and falling for a guitar-toting skater boy. The catch, he's her patient. The novel is slated for spring 2019.
I feel like this is more the Mindy Project meets Doogie Howser.
I've never watched
Whoever wrote this news blurb, obviously is a young person who's never heard of Doogie Howser.
Fun fact, the editor who bought Sona Charapatra's new book is Rhoda Beleza, the author of Empress of a Thousand Skies. She works as an editor as her day job.
I'm just saying, you should make this into a TV show and cast MPH, Neil Patrick Harris, as like maybe the chief resident, and it'll be a full circle thing. Anyways, Doogie Howser fans got me. They know what I'm talking about. First Second bought Pashmina author Nidhi Chanani and Nick Giordano's middle grade graphic novel Jukebox, which tells the story about 2 cousins who find a jukebox that takes them back in time. Publication is slated for 2020. This is just Bill and Ted. This is Bill and Ted. They made Bill and Ted, but like with people of color characters.
Pashmina is a great graphic novel. Go buy it. Next up, Putnam bought 2 picture books by Chan Lee and Marina An, the husband and wife duo behind the Instagram account Drawings for My Grandchildren. The picture books will feature a grandfather using art to share life experiences and express love for his grandchildren living abroad. Publication for the first book is set for spring 2018.
That's cute.
So I follow Drawings for My Grandchildren on Instagram, and the art is just gorgeous. And also the captions, the story in the captions. It's like so many feels. Oh my God, I would just want to cry whenever I read them. Chan Lee, the grandfather who does the art, he actually lives in Brazil, and his grandchildren live in Korea and New York. So most of his almost all of his drawings on Instagram is like kind of like a letter to his grandchildren. So it's really sweet, and I'm really glad that they're compiling his art into a picture book.
Yeah, congrats to Drawings from My Grandchildren. Next up, Simon Post acquired Gloria Chow's Misaligned, a story about a teen outcast who was simultaneously swept up in a whirlwind romance and down a rabbit hole of dark family secrets when another Taiwanese family moves to her small, predominantly white Midwestern town. Publication is planned for fall 2019.
Gloria Chow is the author of American Panda, and it's about a Taiwanese college student who's actually like a teen, but she like skipped a couple grades, and she's like studying to be a doctor because her Taiwanese parents are like, you have to be a doctor, but she's a germaphobe. So yeah, I really want to read American Panda. If someone can send that to me.
That's cool. Congrats to Gloria Chow on her new book.
And I think that's it for book deals, but we still have a great deal of other news to cover. So
yeah,
strap in.
Niantic Labs, the creators of Pokemon Go, are planning to launch an augmented reality game that I feel like you should read this story because it's like your thing.
Is it my thing?
That puts the players into a Harry Potter universe. The press release states that players will learn spells, explore their real-world neighborhoods and cities to discover and fight legendary beasts, and team up with others to take down powerful enemies.
Okay, so breakdown. Creators of Pokemon Go is pretty much making Pokemon Go for Harry Potter. And I think it's really stupid because...
I thought you'd be excited about it. That's why you put it on here.
I've never played Pokemon Go. My boyfriend played it a lot when it first came out, but it was just...
It was dumb fun, but it was...
Like yesterday, I went to Starbucks and there were like 10 people outside the Starbucks just like looking at their phones. And I just peeked over and it was them trying to catch a legendary Pokemon.
Wait, people are still playing Pokemon Go?
Yes, they are still freaking playing Pokemon Go, and it's very annoying.
See, I've moved on to the Fire Emblem game, which is much more
Fire Emblem
game.
is pretty great. But for Harry Potter, I feel I want to cry because I don't want people to play this game because
you don't want people going Patronus, go Patronus, catch.
Because like Pokemon, like even though it's very popular, it's still kind of like a niche thing. Like people over the age of 35 aren't really in tune with Pokemon because they haven't really grown up with it.
This is true.
So, but like Harry Potter, it's like so mainstream. It's like a pop culture phenomenon. So there's going to be way more people playing this game. That means way more people just...
I mean, think of all the money, you know? I mean, that's what Niantic is thinking of.
I am happy, though, that like games like these, they get people to walk outside and explore their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But there are people who invade other people's like other people's properties, and they don't pay attention, and there's car accidents because we live in LA and you don't really walk. I will say, though, if they do make like an Animal Crossing version of this, I will play it. Like
they're making an Animal Crossing game, though.
They are. I will probably play that version because that doesn't sound as popular.
I hear it's pretty good. I hear it's basically Animal Crossing, but on your phone.
That sounds...
with microtransactions.
That sounds like everything I ever wanted, minus the microtransactions.
Just instead of a town, you're running like a camp, like a summer camp with all your Animal Crossing friends. And
sounds like my game.
And Tom Nook probably tries to cheat you out of money somehow.
Okay, and we're finally touching on this topic. Oh boy, I wanted to talk about it on the podcast for a while. Amazon is planning to adapt The Lord of the Rings into a multi-season TV series, possibly including spin-offs. It's reported that It's reported that Amazon paid approximately $250 million for the global TV rights. The budget for a high fantasy series of this caliber is expected to be about $100 to $150 million a season, according to Deadline.
So when they say the Lord of the Rings, they don't mean the actual like Lord of the Rings. They're talking about like what's that big like compendium that he wrote?
Silmarillion?
Yeah.
No, it's not the Silmarillion.
It's not?
It is Lord of the Rings,
Why?
like the trilogy. because Hollywood is unoriginal and they were like, oh, this won a lot of awards and a lot of money, so let's make this into a TV series.
Does the Tolkien estate need more money at this point?
They were shopping it to HBO, Hulu, like pretty much every single streaming service, and Amazon had the highest bid. So Amazon is gonna make this, and I'm just like, I love Lord of the Rings. Like, I do a marathon every year. I own the books, but like, I'm kind of really sick of seeing period pieces and like historical fantasy series just with white people.
Well, also like Lord of the Rings is such like, yeah, it's a very European centric version of fantasy, and it's like it's seeped into all like just fantasy in general. Like elves are these, dwarves are these, you know,
yeah,
halflings
like,
are these.
As much as I want a diverse casting for Lord of the Rings, they would have to address some race stuff because it cannot be a colorblind casting. It just wouldn't make sense. They would have to like dig a little bit deeper if they decide to cast people of color. And I'm not saying like, oh, they shouldn't cast people of color because it's
Well, they're all going to
easier.
play orcs.
But oh no,
they're all going to be orcs.
No, but
just as Tolkien wanted it.
It's really funny because like when I posted the news about this on our Facebook page, like one of my friends, she said that.
Yeah,
like,
I saw her dream casting, and
Yeah.
I'm for that.
Who's the actor again?
Idris Elba.
Idris Elba.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, oh, after I saw Thor Ragnarok, like I can only see him as Aragorn now. And I actually went and hunted down pictures because I haven't seen Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can see it. I dig it.
I mean, I can see, you know, like an Asian elf, like an Asian
Legolas.
Legolas. I was about to say Asian Orlando Bloom, but that's not the character's name.
They did say that they are going to cover like there might be some episodes that take place before the events of Lord of the Rings, but at the same time, I'm like, why? You can.
Yeah, and this was also addressed in a Medium post by the author of Jade City.
Oh, Fonda Lee.
Yeah, where she's talking about, because she said I guess Jade City is set in a modern fantasy world, right?
Yeah, I would say it's like kind of like the roaring 20s with like mafia and mobsters. I'm not sure if I have my time period correct, but that's kind of like what it is.
And like there's so many other great, like, you know, like someone on our book club mentioned Sorcerer of the Crown as a good setting also, like Regency era like magic.
Regency era magic with people of color as protagonists. Yes, I would see it in a heartbeat. Miniseries, please.
I mean, I guess if you're casting Idris Elba as Aragorn, for his name, Sorcerer Obama would probably be
Sorcerer Obama.
What was his name? What was the Sorcerer Royal?
The character's name?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. It's been so long. I have to reread that.
I just know him as Sorcerer Obama. He has to be, I'm thinking of other British actors, and like Idris Elba might be a little too old to play him, so maybe John Boyega, who also plays Idris Elba's son in the new Pacific Rim movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Definitely. And then, I don't know, like the girl from The Good Place can be...
the girl
Prudence.
who plays Tahani.
Yeah.
She's great. I love that show.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many great other settings. I mean, even, you know, Ken Liu's Dandelion Dynasty series, that's like Asian-inspired fantasy. Like, why do we always have to go back to... I guess, like, you know, it's the age-old worry of people in Hollywood. Like, what if people don't get it? You know? Like, I feel like they're not giving... especially genre fans, the benefit of like, we're the people who readily accept, you know, dragons and elves and fantastical beasts in our genre. Like, I feel like fans of fantasy sci-fi are like probably the audience most likely to accept these things.
I mean, going back to the Lord of the Rings point, there are so many fantasies written by like authors of color that feature protagonists of color, and it's just so disappointing because it's like, we could have had this thing with this much money invested in it, and
I mean, Tolkien's they're the big dogs in this world. So.
I mean, how much was it? 250 million for just the rights. Like, do you know how much that would fund like indie projects made by filmmakers of color? And like it's just like so infuriating that so much money is going into a thing that no one asked for.
Yeah, and I want to like I'm not in the business of making predictions, but like given the times that we're heading into, Tolkien has a lot of like problematic aspects to it.
We talked about that in our earlier episodes, like the continent.
Yeah. And that will only be more apparent in modern retellings of this story. Like, I don't think they're like, I don't know if this will happen, but I don't know if they're prepared for like all the think pieces about the characterization of elves and orcs and like the very Eurocentric narrative of
that's what I'm saying. Like with like if they do diverse casting, they like the colorblind casting is going to get so much like so many think pieces on like why like it's like not okay and like what are the problems with it. I'm just hoping that with like Crazy Rich Asians and To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and now like The Wrath and the Dawn, if it ever like makes it past development hell, I just really hope that those series of movies made by Asian creators, it's going to like make a ripple effect and maybe like change kind of like the landscape of Hollywood thinking. But again, I'm very cynical. I'm very cynical, but I mean,
they haven't given us a lot to hang their
they
hats
haven't
on,
really.
But the efforts, I mean, there are efforts and there are people working hard and there are people who have our backs, which is great.
Yeah. So I'm going to give a trigger warning for the next piece of news that we're gonna say. And if you're uncomfortable hearing about sexual harassment, I would suggest fast forwarding maybe like a minute and 30 seconds forward in this podcast.
Like 2-3 minutes probably.
Yeah, 3 minutes. Yeah, just trigger warning. Okay.
All right. The bookseller recently conducted a survey on sexual harassment within the publishing industry. Just over half of the 388 respondents to the survey say they have experienced harassment, with 54% of women and 34% of men saying that they have suffered abuse. According to the survey, harassment is often carried out by more senior or high-status male colleagues, professional contacts, authors, or clients. Meanwhile, targets are often those who are young, in junior roles, new in the workplace, or working freelance. The risk of harassment seemed higher in certain roles. For example, 66% of publicists surveyed said they experienced work-related sexual harassment, while 61% of bookseller respondents said they were harassed by customers, colleagues, or visiting authors. Of the 51% of respondents who said that they experienced harassment, only 29.4% of them reported what happened.
So, if you've been following like what's been happening in the news, in entertainment, in politics, like just any industry, there's been a lot of like
any industry where which is basically every industry, any place where people have the opportunity to exert power over people.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, it's such a sad reflection on just like the human condition, I guess, that like it happens everywhere. Like people, if you give them the opportunity, chances are, and not to say everyone does this, but chances are people are doing it in every industry.
Yeah, which is very unfortunate. And it really sucks, especially in the publishing industry, because the publishing industry is so small. Like it's pretty much centered in New York City, and everyone knows each other. And a lot of work involves like social engagements. Like you go to parties and mixers, and there's a lot of drinks involved. So there's kind of like this excuse of, oh, he had a couple drinks, so he's going to be a little handsy. And and there's a lot of like, because it's so small, people don't really know who to trust when they come to reporting issues of sexual harassment. And it's like really disheartening to hear, but I'm really glad that there's like data to support all of the sexual harassment and sexual assault that young people in the publishing industry are facing.
Yeah, and right now, because there there's so many incidents coming out to light that people are finding strength in each other to report these things now, even if they're beyond the statute of limitations. Just because, like it sucks that so many people have been keeping this stuff like under wraps or in their chest for like so long, you know. Yeah. And it just goes to show, like, for everyone gives those excuses, like, oh, they're just like this when they're drunk or whatever, like that. All that stuff doesn't excuse the fact that the act is bad. The act is wrong, right? And that's the bottom line in all this. It says it's just people deserve to work and to play and to be in an environment where they don't have to worry about.
And it's also like really, it's really disgusting that people who are in senior positions who have like maybe like they're in a high position in like in an editorial department, or maybe they're an author who, you know, have like a very high reputation. Like, it sucks that for a lot of like HR people, it's just easier to fire the junior employee or like transfer them to another department rather than like address the issue head on.
And when we touched on systematic institutions of racism, there's also systematic institutions of oppression and basically systems built to protect people with power. And it protects them from both like professional and also social like repercussions for their actions, and it sucks. It's
there's already like not enough people of color in publishing as well.
Yeah,
and it's like that's just like an added like ceiling onto it, and it's just not.
Yeah, and I mean this type of thing is also it's cyclical too, right? Like people believe. Like, because they've seen this is how people act when they were junior, they like it becomes ingrained that like, oh, when I become powerful, I can also do this.
Yeah, and also like we mentioned like booksellers, right? In like the statistics, like a lot of like booksellers like at Barnes and Noble, like employees, they get harassed by male customers because they think that like them like smiling like at the customers is an invitation to like have sexual advances, and like that's not okay either.
Yeah, that I mean, and that's like a general thing for women in society. Right?
Yeah,
it's like not being careful not to give off anything that can be turned around.
Yeah, and also like we mentioned like the statistics regarding male victims as well. So this isn't just happening to women, it's happening to men, it's happening to non-binary people, it's happening to pretty much everyone in every industry, and it really, really fucking sucks. Like
it'll be interesting to see how all this shakes out, not only in publishing, but in media, in business, in politics. And I mean, it does feel like this is a turning point for when like old school shitty thinking is revealed and accepted in the mainstream as shitty. And that, you know, people, I don't know, whoever takes over, whoever is the next generation of power in these industries, you know, one can only hope that they, whether out of fear of losing their jobs or just because they're good people, improve everything.
And it also means like you need to hire like more women, and you need to hire like more diverse people, because if you level the playing field just a little bit, you'll see maybe a little bit of improvement.
And to all the people, to everyone who's been affected by harassment in the workplace, like we stand with you, and it's important for everyone to recognize that this is a problem.
Yeah.
And that people, like, it's always harder for the victims to admit or to come forward than it is to like just pretend nothing happened. So everyone who's standing up, who is basically putting their names on the line, like they're very courageous.
Yeah. I mean, the only quote unquote rewards that victims of this kind of thing get is the hope that it doesn't happen to somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's only in like the most positive outcome. But like hopefully
Yeah.
And hopefully things change. Hopefully. And I think we have
one more piece of news. Hyphen Magazine is currently accepting creative nonfiction and personal essays about the Asian American experience. You can find more information at hyphenmag.submittable.com.
Hyphen Mag has great writing. Like, I think they also do like short stories. So.
They've been staffing up recently with new editors.
Oh, good for them. They've been around for a long time. So, and
they're volunteer run. They're supported by sponsors and donors.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me of a tweet that happened like in the last couple days about the problem with 30 under 30 lists. And like it's just like, oh, like I think it was Wendy of Angry Girl Comics who said like she thought for the longest time that if she didn't get published by the age of 30 that she's a failure. And there's been a lot of like encouraging tweets from her tweet. And yeah, there are a lot of authors who get their first big break past 30 and a lot of authors who are like in their 20s and get that shiny debut. A lot of them, you don't see a second book from them. So I just want to say like if you're close to 30, if you're past 30, it's not too late. It's never too late to start writing. It's never too late to get another dream. So
it's not too late to NaNoWriMo.
Oh God, NaNoWriMo. Oh my God, NaNoWriMo. If you are participating in NaNoWriMo this month, like I have tremendous respect for you. And oh man, like good luck. Good luck and just press on. We need more diverse books. So please, like continue and also don't submit your manuscript right after NaNoWriMo. Like I can't stress this enough. Like editors get swamped with slush piles from NaNoWriMo works. I know this because I worked at a literary company. So yeah, definitely like after you finish NaNoWriMo, just put it in a drawer for maybe like 1 or 2 months and then get back and revise it. But yeah, if you are participating in NaNoWriMo, mad respect.
Good luck. And on that note, that'll do it for this mid-month episode of Books and Boba. I hope you enjoyed listening to our commentary on new releases and book news from the Asian American publishing world. Again, our November book club pick is Empress of a Thousand Skies by Rhoda Belleza. And we'll be talking about that book at the end of the month. And next month's book, if you want to get a head start, is the Nobel Prize winning novel Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. Apparently it's very good.
Since I already read that book, I'm going to be reading Remains of the Day while everybody else is reading Never Let Me Go.
And thanks again for listening to Books and Boba. As always, you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. Leave us a rating and review on iTunes if you feel inclined to. It really helps us out getting out to more people. Please share us with any friends you have who are thinking of or even thinking of getting into books because it's a good starting off point. And
if they are tired of reading books only about white characters by white authors, then this is the podcast for them.
Yeah. And as always, please join our Goodreads forums, Books and Boba on Goodreads.com, and introduce yourself to the group. If you join, we always love to meet new book club members. And that'll do it. We'll see you in a few weeks for our book club discussion. Keep reading. Books and Boba was hosted by Marvin Yue and Rira Yu and edited by Marvin Yue. Books and Boba is a proud member of the Potluck Podcast Collective, a collective of podcasts featuring unique voices from the Asian American community. If you like Books and Boba, check out our other great podcasts such as the Collabcast, the official podcast of the collaboration movement, taking a weekly look at pop culture and the creative life from an Asian American perspective. Check out the Collabcast and the other great programs of the Potluck Collective by going to the website www.podcastpotluck.com.